AXIM Fringe Solutions Group would like to welcome you to a different kind of sick pay video, where instead of just talking about what it is, we'll look at how to implement sick pay into the many different aspects of your business. If you don't already know the basics of the Sick Pay Act, there's a number of great resources out there, including AXIM's two 60-second videos that'll walk you through what it is and what the basic rules are. Instead, this video focuses on three major things. First, the changes your admin team is going to need to make in order to properly use sick pay. Second, how to track and report sick pay for your employees and to understand its cost. And third, how to price sick pay into future contracts. And we'll begin with the admin team because they're the people who are going to have the biggest impact on how well sick pay is implemented at your company. The first thing they need to do is to be sure which contracts require sick pay, which can be a little murky. The contract officer or agency ultimately has the answer when and if sick pay is supposed to be implemented and what the fringe rate is supposed to be up until then. But sooner or later, you're going to end up implementing sick pay. And when you do, you're going to have to track it separately from PTO and report on a monthly basis how many sick pay hours they have. Not just because it's required, but if you lumped it in with PTO, it ended up costing you a lot more money because sick pay has different rules as far as payouts and terminations go. Finally, be sure to make changes to the employee handbook in regards to sick pay and communicate the policies face-to-face with your employees and present it positively, as though this is another benefit they receive. You might as well get some goodwill for the money you're about to spend on sick leave anyway. Or, with the government now adding a third layer of tracking to your compliance reporting, you should consider subcontracting it as part of your fringe spend, which could rid you of both the cost and the burden of these new regulations. Speaking of which, let's now dive into how to track paid sick leave for both your employees and so you can have a better understanding of its cost. And by now you may be aware that it takes 30 work hours to accrue 1 hour of paid sick leave and that the maximum is 8 days for a year. The silver lining is that unlike PTO regulations, sick pay doesn't require you to pay out upon termination after a certain time period. If an employee accrues 8 days for 3 years and never uses them, you only had to accrue for 8 days. And the thing is, you never pay the expense until the employee actually takes a sick day. You only set it aside for when they do. You also may want to consider creating an accrual account to set aside funds for when your employees use sick pay, and talk to your CPA about when you want to expense that into your books. And the final thing to consider in tracking is job cost. You want to know how much paid sick leave really costs you on your contracts. So when it comes time to tweak your labor pricing, you'll have the data you need to understand how to price it into your contract and stay profitable. Which conveniently brings us to the third aspect of our video, how to price paid sick leave into your future contracts. So the initial pricing of sick pay is actually pretty straightforward. You take the average wage on the contract and add in the tax burden because that'll have to be paid out when you pay for the sick pay, and then times it times 56 hours, and that'll give you a per employee cost. So now let's put that equation into context. Say we had a contract where the average wage was $16 an hour, and we have a 25% tax burden on average. So we times that times 56 hours and got $1,120 per employee. And as you can see, for a 50-person contract or a 150-person contract, that's what the first year's cost for paid sick leave would basically average out to. But that's where it gets a little complicated. You'll have to factor in employees who stay for longer than a year but don't use all of their paid sick leave, just like employees who only stay for a short time period and don't accrue a whole lot of it. But understanding that tricky part of job costing will definitely help you achieve a better price for profitability on your contracts. We at AXIM would like to thank you for allowing us to take a moment to share some insight about this very difficult new policy. And we want to remind you that we offer 100% liability guaranteed compliance reporting. And if you have any questions about sick pay, fringe rates, or anything to do with SA or DBA compliance, don't hesitate to give us a call. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.